As the days lengthen and the chirping of birds crescendo outside my window, I reflect on the turning of the seasons from winter to spring. I thaw just like the snow. The past few months have been spent in alignment with the darkness and cold, journaling fireside and diving into the depths of my own shadow. The darkness hasn't bothered me because I carry within a light of my own. Even the season of darkness has felt romantic, a dance in the ether. I've rejoiced in the repose, the silence, the absence of activity. It is from that abyss that I can make room for the life force that's now to come. Now the sun burns warmer and longer. Blades of grass jut their way out of the earth, critters come out of their quiet corners. It's like the sun's beams have touched my skin for the very first time. Soon there will be glittering bodies of water and rivulets of honey, tender peaches and succulent cherries, pale unadulterated skies, buds unfurling from branches, green so lurid that it hurts my eyes, laughter and music reverberating from rooftops, pale sangria with floating strawberry slices. After the darkness comes the light. Hello, welcome back. If you liked that intro, you may enjoy my novel there in the back, so definitely check it out. Today we're going to be talking about the transition from deep winter to spring. Very, very early spring. I have a kind of untraditional way of viewing the seasons. So the way that I see the seasons, and people give me a lot of shit for this, but I think it's the right way, is December 1st is winter, March 1st is spring, May 1st is summer, and September 1st is autumn. That's the way I see it. You may not agree with me, but that's just my opinion. You know, when we talk about like ancient practices, ancient traditions for honoring the spring, a lot of them do start even as early as like February 1st, which I'll talk about in this video. I think many of us can relate to the idea that the transition from winter to spring is very magical because we have been in this period of dark and gloom and cold for the past few months, and now for the first time, it's like we're springing back to life, and it feels all the more magical because of that. You know, I'm a person that loves gloomy weather. I love a good overcast or rainy day. I love the fall more than anything. But even towards the very end of winter, like January, February, I get a little bit more starved for sunshine and warmth. I know if I feel it as somebody who loves the gloom, you guys who don't relate to that most definitely feel it. Just know that first day of like early spring when the sun hits your skin and it feels so amazing. It feels like you've never been touched by sunlight before. It wouldn't be that good if it weren't for the winter that preceded it. It wouldn't feel so intense if we hadn't been starved of it. So in this video, I'm going to talk about some of the things I do in the spring, particularly what I'm going to be trying to be doing this spring. I'm going to talk about some more like ancient folklore and how I weave that into my day-to-day life, but also just, everyday mundane habits that help romanticize life a little bit. Because we are moving from the season of death and repose and darkness and cold to the season of love and rebirth. And I think the love part has already started as soon as February 14th, Valentine's Day. And it's only going to get more and more pronounced as we get deeper into spring. So one habit that I strongly recommend in the spring is to just pay attention to how everything is springing back to life. So let me give you a couple of examples. Last year I bought a bush of lavender in the fall, and then when winter came and it turned all gray and desiccated, I thought it was dead. I was like, I'm going to have to throw this out. I was trying to prune it. I didn't know what I was doing. And then in the spring, I realized that the new flowers were going to grow out of those old ones that looked dead. And so I had just cut off a bunch of branches that could have turned into a beautiful bush of purple. Beside the point, I learned my lesson. This year I didn't do it. And right now I'm looking at my lavender. I just know that in a few weeks it's going to start springing. And out of that nothingness will come something so beautiful and so lively. I've been looking at just this bed of leaves, leaves from last fall that fell from trees outside my window. And I just keep looking at it and I'm like, I remember that in the spring, it gets so vibrant here. It gets like such a powerful lime green color. And I'm like, how is that going to work? Like, where do the leaves go? Where does this bed of dead leaves disintegrate to make room for the fresh life that's budding from the earth? I don't know yet. I'll let you know once I figure it out, but I'm very enticed. And every morning I just look outside my window and I look at those dead leaves and I'm like, I want to know what's going to happen. Something else that I did around February 1st is I redecorated the apartment. So I moved all the winter decor out of the way and I replaced it with a more Mediterranean romantic type of decor. So things like, marble statue heads, images of fairies and Aphrodite, bouquets of flower. I like to have maybe a little bit of baby's breath on the bar cart. Because usually in the darker seasons, I like to go for, a darker ambiance. And I've been told, when friends come into my apartment, they're like, this is like so Victorian looking. And I'm like, oh, you really think so? Because to me, this is like nothing compared to what I would do if this was my forever home. I appreciate that. That's what I'm going for. But in the spring, it's a little bit brighter. It's a little bit more feminine, more romantic. And it's not just the visual senses, it's also what you can hear. I love to put maybe some romantic Latin music on the speaker or some upbeat EDM, what's called like tropical house, things like Kygo and so forth. It just makes me feel light and feminine and like I'm springing back to life. So I like to do that while I'm cleaning. I'll also like light a little candle. I have this rose scented one from Trader Joe's that's been very poignant. Or while I'm doing maybe like some soft Pilates, I'll have this light music playing and it just instantly helps me be more mindful and slow down and really enjoy the senses. Also more flowy feminine outfits, like I'm currently wearing a very flowy maxi dress that's in a very like peachy springy color. I'm thinking of doing like an entire video on like flowy springy outfits, so I might just do that separately. But in the spring, I love a lot of maxi skirts, maxi dresses, puff sleeves, trumpet sleeves, Bardot shirts, anything that looks like a woman in the Renaissance era would have worn. I have these butterfly earrings that I like to wear sometimes. I'm not wearing them right now because they're a little dangly, so like I don't always wear them. I did just buy these tiny little hoop earrings that have, I don't know what's on there, cubic zirconia or something. Something that I love to do every year. I wish I could do it more than once a year, but unfortunately I just have memorized the entire movie by now, is I love to watch Dracula in the early summer and the deep summer. Because I keep thinking about that scene when Dracula is seducing Lucy and she's going out into the storm in the garden at nighttime by the sea, the flowy dress, the music, the drama, it stirs something in me. It makes me yearn for stormy summer nights. It makes me embrace my fluffy, wavy hair a little bit more, and it just makes me feel mystical and yet whimsical at the same time because Lucy's character is just so flirtatious, so feminine. It's just unbelievable. Okay, moving on to the more like folkloric things that I like to do this time of year. So I'll start chronologically. Chronologically, it starts as early as February 1st, which is the celebration of Imbolc. This is really a time for cleaning, spring cleaning arguably came out of that celebration. Setting new intentions, burning away the remnants of what you no longer need from the previous season. So back in the day, people would take a little sprig of their Yule tree or, Christmas tree, whatever you want to call it, and they would just burn it and set an intention. I love goal setting year round. I'm very much a goal setting girly, but in the spring, it's a particularly good time for it because it's just very at one with nature. Nature is also starting something anew, and so it feels very right. So then in around February to March, there's a celebration from ancient Greece called Anthesteria. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. But it was one of the Athenian festivals in honor of Dionysus, who was the god of wine, debauchery, sensuality, silliness, all this good stuff. And it was to celebrate the beginning of spring and the maturing of the wine that was stored at the previous fall. And so it's a great time to, throw a party with your friends, have some wine, play some games, have like a championship. I did that one year a couple years ago and it was so much fun. The dress code was everyone had to look somewhat ancient Greek, and so we all tried to look like ancient Greek gods and goddesses. That's also why I have a lot of like grapes hanging around the apartment, just like grapes dangling from the wine portion of the bar cart, grapes on the mantle, because I adorned the whole place with so many grapes for that. And we had like a playlist of ancient sounding exotic music. It was fun. Moving on to the next spring tradition, March 1st, there's something in Romania called Mărțișor. Martie means March, and so Mărțișor is that celebration of that first week of March. I think the traditions kind of vary based on the region, but the way that my grandma passed it down to me, in the first week of March, so March 1st to 7th, women pick a day. For instance, this year I picked March 3rd. And how the weather is that day will tell you basically how this next half of the year will be for you. And I think for men, they have to pick a day between March 8th and 14th or so. Another tradition is that women wear mărțișoare, which is like these little red and white threads, either like pin them to their chest or something I do because like nobody in the US knows about this tradition. I just like to weave those threads around like the kitchen, around like the little kitchen cupboard handles. And I also change all the tablecloths with these white and red tablecloths handmade by my great grandmother, who I never met. I hear she wasn't a very nice lady, but she made some beautiful tablecloths. So the mărțișoare are meant to represent funia anului, which is the year's rope entwining summer and winter, and the pendant symbolizes fortune and wealth, kind of like a talisman, and it's supposed to bring good health and beauty to the wearer. It's related to something else known as Babadocia, which is a legend in Romania. There's kind of like a tragic story, I believe. She got frozen or turned into like a mountain rock or something like that. Sorry, I didn't brush up on my Babadocia lore before filming this video, but it is very much interwoven with Mărțișor week. Both of them are related to the month March and the coming of spring and the end of winter. And then of course around mid-March there is Ostara, another celebration of spring and debauchery and having fun. It's the spring equinox when day and night are supposed to be equal. It's that turning point where we're really going from mostly winter to mostly spring. And then aside from that, just some activities I like to participate in this time of year: hiking, socializing, spending time outside, on the patio, maybe having like a meal and margaritas on the patio, blasting some music, having a bucket list for the season. So it's just a very exciting time filled with life and vitality and rebirth and love and connection. I love it. Spring is definitely my second favorite season after autumn. I do love the season of deterioration more than the one of coming to life. But at the same time, it feels so good when spring is here. Let me know what you like to do this time of year. I'll see you soon.